Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Enlightened Mike podcast. My name is Tim, as always, and I'm joined, as always, by Jacob, and as sometime always, by Archer, aka Sir Archibald. How are you guys doing? I'm so happy to have two of you on here together. It feels like I've been dating two people, and they're both in the same room now.
We get real awkward.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I'm glad we were able to put this together. So we wanted to talk about some outsiders today. There's a lot of spoilers. We're not going to go over all of them because that'd be like a 4-hour episode. But we did want to go over kind of our top 5, and I say let's just dive into it. Which one of you gentlemen wants to go first?
Jacob, take it away.
All right, cool. So I think the way we're going to do this, we're going to go back and forth, just kind of talking about certain cards that piqued our interest personally. So I'm going to go ahead and start. I know I talked about this in the last time we were on the pod, but my top one right now is going to be Dishonor. The main reason I love Dishonor is, and I'm excited to see it played, is it brings a design space to Ninja that I'm particularly hyped about. It feels very thematic for the Ninja to have these kind of small attacks that have really great on hits. And really, the reason to talk about Dishonor is all of the Ninja cards kind of attached to it, all the combo cards that are a part of it, change names and add names with this set. How do you feel about that, Archer? How do you feel about Dishonor first off, and then how do you feel about the cards that allow for the name changing? So things like Dishonor are really easy to pull off.
Yeah, it's really cool. I think it allows for a lot of flexibility with Ninja now. That I thought Katsu was like really rigid before, but now you have a lot of, you can be like water, right? It's very on point. And actually, one of the cards that I'm going to talk about later, the Mask, does this, and I think has like potential for a lot of really, really degenerate stuff in the future.
Yeah, Mask of Many Faces, I believe.
Yeah. So yeah, just the idea that it's a blue block for 3, with one of the craziest on hits we've seen in the game. The fact that it's a game persistence effect, we haven't seen anything like that before. And I'm really excited to see that. And I also I love the theme of card games, and I love the idea of this, that if you let this hit, you've like dishonored your entire family, your entire clan or class, and it will be remembered the whole game as you have no effect on your hero. Which, as we were talking about last time, is not significant for all matchups, but matchups where it is significant, you will have to play around this card, and that fact alone is really fun. Whether you know it's in the list or not, you have to be ready for it.
Yeah,
and then you're on Dory and stuff like that.
Yeah, and then at its core, it's just a blue block 3, 0-cost blue block 3, which is like, Ninja has so many options for those now. It's insane. And like I was trying to build a Katsu deck with some of the new cards, and it was like,
So open.
there's too many choices for the blues, which is like kind of awesome to have like your like base of a deck be very varied. Yeah, I think it's a dope card.
Something I'll say though on that point is a lot of people, every time they see a Ninja card, and I'm not trying to like dishonor what you're saying. See what I did there? But the blue block 3, like Ninja has so many of those now, right? Like it's just like,
yes,
like they have so many to choose from, more than you need perhaps. But it is nice to have that selection and have more utility, because some of them are kind of gross, or not gross, kind of bad, I guess. You know what I mean?
Should we move to the next one?
Yeah, let's. What's your first one, Archer?
All right, we'll stick with Ninja. I want to talk about Cyclone Roundhouse, and then tying in with Mask of the Many Faces. Cyclone Roundhouse, similar to Dishonor, is like some of the only disruption that we've seen out of Ninja. And in the set, we have a lot more disruption out of Ninja, which is really, really cool. But Cyclone Roundhouse banishes a random card. If you fulfill its combo text, banishes a random card defending each chain link. So immediately comes to mind, like, what's Katsu's worst matchup, or like what's keeping Katsu from being relevant prior to this set?
Right.
and it was like Oldhim, and it was
Yeah.
like other aggro decks being faster and more efficient, and like Katsu got more efficient numbers on a lot of his cards, and he got a way to banish Rampart, which
I
is like
mean,
nuts.
yeah, this card
Oh, I didn't
following
realize
up
this
the
card banished
Kodachi
Rampart.
swing.
That's pretty insane, actually.
Yeah, dude.
Holy
Yeah,
cow.
so it was funny when I read this card. I wasn't really sure what like the use cases were at first because I was like, are they saying that you're banishing links so it counts as like hits for previous chains? And no, that's not what it is. It's the idea of removing equipment because in a lot of cases, banishing a card is not super relevant. In some matchups, it will be. There will be matchups where if remembrance is a thing and they block something early that with a card that they are planning on getting back later, and you're able to banish it outright right there, that can be significant. But its best place is getting rid of a piece of armor. I also love the idea of getting rid of a piece of like temper or battle worn armor before they get the full use out of it. They get that 2 block in, and then you're just like, cool. Now that's gone for the rest of the game. No more grasp of the Arcanite. No more
Yeah, that's actually got
any
a
of these
lot more,
other
like a lot of like
Valiant
really cool
Dynamo.
use cases in the background, right? Of like
Yeah.
yeah, the like you said, like banishing somebody's utility, even if it's not necessarily a bad matchup for you, like but yeah, banishing a grasp or banishing a valiant, like that. Those are both really good examples. And wow, this actually seems really powerful. Holy cow! I mean, it's at least a must block, right? Like that's
Well,
crazy.
it's not an on hit.
It's not an on hit.
Oh shoot. Okay, I just need to read this
It's
card
good.
apparently.
It's
This
good.
is really good.
It's okay. So what it says specifically is at the beginning of the reaction step, banish a random defending card from each chain link. And I think the reason it's worded that way is that so your opponent still has a chance after it's activated to play defenses to that chain link. So it can't banish your opponent can't like play the sink below to the chain link of Cyclone Roundhouse and then Cyclone Roundhouse bounce it out. The bouncing happens before the opponent has a chance to respond.
So this, I want to
Yeah, it's pretty
bring
insane.
up Mask of the Many Faces, which is the new common ninja equipment that you can pay one as an instant, and then and then you name a card, and the next attack action card you play, I think it has to have combo, might not, gains that name.
And
And
combo's not necessary. Yeah.
okay, cool. And so this card like has like crazy utility going forward because as more cards come out and more interactions between cards, the card ceiling is like nuts. But what I was trying to do in this deck that I was building, and I was talking with Natan, our resident Oldhim player on the team, but like if Oldhim is trying to play around it, like they're like, I'm not going to block with Rampart when I think the combo is going to come. If they ever block a Kodachi with Rampart, you can pop this mask and then play your Cyclone from Arsenal, and then get that Rampart out of there, and then your Kodachis are going to do chip damage for the rest of the game. And I think you just win. Like I don't. If they can only crown, they have to give you a whole card. Like it changes the matchup, I think, a lot. I think Mask of the Many Faces is good in the Oldhim matchup because you're not getting your momentum hits anyway.
You think it's
That's
good? That's actually a good point.
so
I
that's
think
Right?
you.
that's what I was gonna say is I feel like if it like in a vacuum you're like, oh yeah, like a control deck, mask of momentum. You want to you want to draw cards, you want to present on hits every single turn, but you're presenting on hits anyway. And the mask of momentum usually doesn't matter because they just like block a Kodachi with seeds or rampart or something.
Yep.
And so I think that's a really good point, and that's what I was gonna say is I think Mask of Many Faces is actually better into like those bad matchups than it is because of exactly Cyclone Roundhouse, right? Like it's fine, it's like cute in other scenarios, right? But with Cyclone Roundhouse, it's just pretty insane into those
Yeah.
decks.
And Mask of the Many Faces lets you play these combo enders, these like devastating combo enders, without having to play the whole line.
Whole conditional,
Um,
yeah.
and so you can just run 3 Cyclones, plop one in Arsenal, and then just set up for it. And then if they're not going to block with Rampart on a Kodachi, you're getting chip damage with Kodachi. So like it's fine.
Yeah, there's something really smart about this card. I really only thought of it as a limited card at first, but it does have legs. I think even I had an idea for a Phoenix Flame, uh,
Takes warm.
Phoenix Form Phi that took advantage of this and being able to put 2 Phoenix Flames on the chain pretty seamlessly. So getting to your third one is not unimaginable. And
Mhm.
I think yeah, Phoenix Form having the ability it has to hit that hard in those controlled matchups, and
that's a
just
cool
being able
idea.
to, yeah, just being able to pack this mask to pull that off seems worth it. I don't know yet if it's a complete replacement for pouncing links, but I definitely, based on this conversation, it has more legs than I originally gave it.
I think
Yeah, I
the
think it's more
point
than a meme at
is
least.
the point is the card has potential, and
Yeah.
it can be a build around, it can be a tech card. I think that card, like, people saw it and they're like, oh, it's a limited card. You only want Mask of Momentum, but like against decks, they're gonna block you anyway. Like Mask of Momentum's not giving you anything.
Yeah, in a world of combo, it being able to just basically what it says is like pitch one to get a combo card on the chain. And that idea in and of itself is just it's really smart. Um, it allows you to have way more powerful 3 card hands as long as you have that extra resource of like a tunic even, so you're not even paying for it. That's real nice. And again, you're gonna pocket it just like all the ninja cards. You're gonna pocket it for that for the most significant turn.
Mhm.
So one resource to turn on a very significant on hit is valuable in a lot of matchups. I think you're right. I think it's something that we should play around with, test, and see if we can find something fun with that.
I'm on
Yeah,
it.
Cool.
I think it's a really awesome card. That wasn't actually on the list either. It's just that our show notes say Cyclone Roundhouse with a cheeky mask of many faces. Shout out. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
nice sneak in Archer. I think that would be on my list. Like if I were to write a list, which I didn't, I left it to you guys. But if I were to write a list, I think after that discussion, it would be on just because there's a lot of possibilities and it would be fun to explore. Okay, cool. So let's go to your number 2, Jacob.
So my number 2 is Burdens of the Past. Now, this is another card I picked again for how unique of a design space it is, um, and the fact that it's a generic that I think has a lot of traction. So, Burdens of the Past is a 0 cost uh, blue block 3. It reads until the end of the turn, target hero can't play defense reaction cards with the same name as a card in their graveyard. If there are 10 or more defense reaction cards in their graveyard, draw a card. So, as an aggro player, this card is awesome. I am so fucking hyped to play this card. This is great
What's
into.
the use case for this card for the folks at home?
Okay, so right off the bat, this is a really good Briar card. It's a blue block 3 that can be a block 4. That was the first thing that came to mind. Is as an OG Briar player, this was high on my list as another blue block 4 for Briar that has inherent go again 0 cost. Um, into the matchups where you're really being slowed down, your old hymns and your Dromai runs quite a bit of defense reactions. And as we're going to see, we have a new hero in this set that also has and leans into defense reactions. So I think the on hit or the not the on hit, but the conditional on this is very relevant. Where if they have 10 or more defense reactions in their graveyard, you just get to draw a card off of this, so it replaces itself. That's great. But basically, it's going to help you push through. If you're aggro and you're running into these matchups that are really dependent on efficient blocks and getting your sink belows, basically you've said, hey, if you've played a sink below this game, you can't play it this whole turn. Hey, if you've played a Fate Foreseen this game, you can't play it this whole turn. Um, that's just really good. And then in things like Katsu, it's another 0 cost blue, so you have another Kadachi setup. Um, yeah, Archer, what are you thinking about this card?
I think as a blue, you got to immediately think like, how does this work late cycle? And that second line already tells you how it's going to work late cycle. So you pitch this early. You set up. It's like an exude that's like a little bit more flexible. I feel like. But yeah, you pitch it early. You pitch some attacks after, and then you set up like this big turn to make sure that second line it replaces itself. Like you could set up some nasty things with
This
this card.
comboed onto a CMH turn is very scary.
Yeah.
Um,
So nature CMH turn.
yeah.
Oof.
Oh gosh, yeah.
You're
That's
speaking my
that's
language
the
there for
dream.
sure.
But
You
this
can
is
pitch
this
it.
is a
Pitch
this is
that.
a Briar card. This is a Briar card dream for sure. I know we've all been testing on the Viz list. I think that this might have a space in there. As a blue block 3, also great. And the text on it's just relevant. And I think that is just another great thing. It's just a generic blue block three that has genuinely relevant text, which is a dangerous space, right? I think if we have too many of those in this game, it makes this base power level for all decks a little too high. But not all decks will want to run this. Like I don't see fatigue or control really trying to play something like this unless they're really pushing a severe on hit later in the game.
Well, because it's an anti-fatigue card. We've seen like a
Exactly.
few of them in this set. There's another one, the 1 for 3 go again, that
Mhm.
if they block with an action card, you put an action card from your graveyard on top of your deck. Like these are like they're introducing like interesting anti-fatigue cards.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah, I mean they won't ban Remembrance, so I just gotta get there somehow. So yes, so yeah, that was Burdens of the Past. Good card. I didn't realize that was a generic, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's
crazy. I guess I just
it's
read
relevant
Burdens.
for everyone.
Yeah, and I read Burdens of the Past, and maybe I was like, oh, that's like a Katsu sounding card. So I just like, oh yeah, that's a ninja card. I'm looking at it again, like, shoot, that's actually just really good. It is a majestic. I
Yeah,
think maybe just signaling that it is kind of good. Not that that always matters.
valuable.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So that was number 2 for Jacob. Archer, what's your number 2?
All right, we're gonna go with the only legendary on my list, Trench of the Sunken Treasure, which is the new Ranger chess piece. First of all, it's if you guys have seen it, because it's extended art, it is fucking gorgeous, and the art is like some of the coolest art I've seen on a piece of equipment.
Yeah,
And
pirates, baby.
dude, and like dope looking pirates too.
Yeah,
It's really cool
It,
looking. I'll agree.
it's a really interesting. So there's a couple things I like about it. One, first thing, it's arcane barrier on a card that has other utility, which I think more classes need. But they're going to limit that to like the thematic zones that they've kept it to. Like not all classes will get arcane barrier on their equipment, but some classes do. And I just think it's really important to have as a wizard player. I recognize the importance of more access to AB. The second thing is its ability is wild and like has so much cool potential, specifically in Riptide. Riptide gets the free reloads, and you can do some really cool things with the bow, which is also an instant. So you can like layer and hold priority.
Which bow are you talking about? You're talking about like Voltaire
Barb,
or oh no,
Barb
the
Castaway.
barbed
Arb Castaway.
yeah, that's pretty good. Both of those are instants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the new bow. I'm talking about Riptide. So yeah, you can play a trap, hold priority on the Riptide trigger, um, use your chess piece to sink the card in arsenal, and then you have a free arsenal to then use the Riptide trigger to replace something in the arsenal. And Riptide's ability works with New Horizons where Reload didn't. And so you can do, and then you get a resource to then flip that card and put an aim counter on. So then you can go into your turn with the 0 cost aim counter card and just throw that. And then you're like throwing disruption at their face. I think the card's really cool. I think it's really good in Riptide, probably not in any of the other Rangers.
I mean, I think
Um,
like I was just thinking about it in context of like Azalea or something, or like Lexi, right? And I think it's a good way. Like I feel like a lot of times that I've played a Lexi player that isn't just like on point with what they're putting into Arsenal, they're always like, oh my, that lightning press I put in Arsenal cost me like 3 turns of good damage,
yeah,
and it's
yeah.
like I'm wondering if like that could kind of help with those situations. Like it kind of just like smooths out your arsenaling and your hands in a way that like you still have to play tight, but it just gives you like it gives you more options, right? Like it kind of loosens it
Just
takes away one of the hoops that you have to jump through, right? So and that's the thing I've always said about Ranger is like you have to jump through so many hoops to like do like insane damage that like if you can take away one of the hoops, then great.
Yep.
But yeah, I agree. I think Riptide or Riptide. I think Riptide with that is going to be really cool. I think I think it could be really good with Azalea and Lexi as well, but I think that changes the texture of the deck for sure. Anything else to say about Trench of the Sunken Treasure?
Yeah, this card's really good. This card works like Crown of Seed works, but it's free. You're getting to set up your second cycle from your
Well,
arsenal.
it's not
Not
free.
necessarily. It's not. It is free. This is once per turn instant.
It costs a card.
So does but it doesn't cost a resource the same way Crown of Seeds does.
I know. I'm just saying it's not. You're putting a card away.
Right,
It's
you're
it's
putting
not
a card
free
away,
in the strictest
and
sense.
you're not getting it back, but you're getting a resource off of it. And it's an instant, so you're playing it on your opponent's turn as well. It has the utility of Arcane Barrier before it eventually breaks with the Blade Break. So the idea is in some matchups you can get upwards of like 5 to 6 points of value off of a card like this. That's not counting the resources you might gain over the course of the game. Like this card brings a lot of value in a chess
Yeah.
spot, which is important because every class, and I'm just gonna go out here with this hot take, every single class needs a tunic replacement. Tunic should be the floor. Tunic should be the
Ooh.
floor of the items for every class, right? Like it is
That's an
a
interesting
great
take.
card. Yeah, it's a great card and it does a lot of utility, but I feel like every class should have a specific card that kind of elevates what Tunic is doing and is more specific. And we already have examples of that for a lot of different classes. So like
Skeleton.
Teklo Foundry Heart, losing Skeleton was sad. Losing Skeleton was
man.
sad. It was
I want them to unban.
poorly
Like I didn't
written.
even play this in like the heyday of Skeleton, but like I liked that deck. Like Archer played Skeleton Vis, and our friend Sky, fellow team member, also like he's like the best Vis player I've ever met. And it made me really sad when Skeleton got banned for sure. So yeah, I think every class needs some sort of an upgrade on Tunic. I agree.
What is it? Seismic? There's the Seismic one for the Guardians that works the same way, where you're making a seismic search, so you're like floating a resource over every turn.
It's like a delayed Tunic.
Yeah, and then we have the new one for Assassin. I don't know if it's as good though. That's the issue. The Assassin one basically gives you a 1 resource discount on an attack reaction. It does have the upside of all the Assassin equipment where you can pay the 2 silver to get it back. So there kind of is that utility to it.
I'm looking for that now. Is that a common?
It's an Assassin Ninja.
Oh, it's an Assassin Ninja combo. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh, it's a ninja card as well.
We're speaking of. We are speaking, of course, of. I'm just scrolling through. It's just a ninja card, or it's just a.
No, I'm totally wrong. You're talking about a different card, Jacob.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Anyway,
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Redback Shroud.
Equipment. Yeah, the shroud thingy.
Yeah. Cool.
Now I gotta find it.
Yeah, that seems like kind of bad, right? Like I read that card and I don't know, like the Assassin's getting more like attack reaction-y, I guess, more than it already was. So maybe there's an argument for it, but like
0.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
And also there's silver generation in this set. It's such a weird card.
Yeah.
But, I mean,
it's pretty weird.
What do you guys think of that take though? Do you believe that Tunic should be kind of the floor? Like I honestly think that Tunic, I love Tunic. It's a great card. I hate hearing that it's broken. I would just like for it to be kind of like the base for a lot of decks, and then certain decks having the ability to have a better one for certain matchups. I think that's a great design choice.
I mean, Archer,
it'll take us a while to get there.
But what do you think? What do you think about Tunic and like its power level and like Jacob's take? I personally like it. I like that like each like I like, for example, that like Tekla Foundry is a great example where it's like you want to be doing that thing as mech. And it's not necessarily like strictly better than Tunic, but it's like different and it fits with your strategy, right? So
that should be the idea.
I like it. Yeah. What do you think, Archer?
Yeah, I think Tunic being a base power level is like a really, like for legendary, right? It's like a legendary base power level for all classes. I would be worried if all classes had a strictly better version, like that was class specific.
Sure.
because
No, no, no.
energy generation is like pretty strong in certain classes. Like if wizards got a tunic upgrade, that would be pretty scary. Um,
Eluvian's close.
sure.
It represents. Well, that's what I'm
In the
saying though. Is
wizard
like
mirror.
none of them. You can't make it better than Tunic. Like Tunic, it can't be power crept. But I
Yeah.
like the side grades that offer more utility for your class. Because like
Yeah. Okay, that's a better way of saying
you know
it.
what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Yeah, like
Side
the
grade.
side grade that offers the utility
Yeah.
specifically to your class, where it's like
Yeah.
for Dash, you're burning cards, but you're essentially able to hit that trigger every single turn to get that extra resource. In the case of this one, you're not going to be doing this every single turn, but the turns where you're going to do it, it's going to be easy to do, and then it's going to
Hmm.
be very relevant for that resource to come.
Well,
Um,
that brings us back to that thing that it's like it allows you to filter your arsenal, and it like you can't put yourself in a chokehold by putting the wrong thing in your arsenal. Which I mean, I guess with Azalea, you're not really doing that anyway because you can put something on the bottom of your deck, but it gives you more like stuff to do, and I like it.
all
I
right.
Um,
really like the new Ranger chess piece.
yeah, no, I think it's really good. Okay, so the next one on the list is Jacob's number 3 is Buzzsaw Trap.
Buzzsaw
Um,
Trap.
and I'm
Yeah.
gonna read this because it's actually kind of insane. But it is a legendary though, so let me just. Sorry, I gotta. Jacob just walked off camera. He's
I can
like,
read it. I have it up.
"Oh yeah, go ahead, go ahead."
All right, so it's a blue zero cost Ranger defense reaction trap. Legendary Riptide specialization. When this defends an attack with power greater than its base, the attack can't gain power this turn. And then in parentheses, it clarifies its power becomes its base. Which is a good clarification because it's kind of weirdly worded where you're like, oh, can it not? And there's some other previous ways they've worded those types of things and made it more clear, like loses and can't gain. But this one says can't gain, so I'm glad they clarified that.
Yeah, just on that point quickly. I love how they're always advancing the kind of I guess most people in like I guess most people refer to it as like the templating of their rules on cards like this. Because I think they've tried out a couple of things, right? Exude confidence or something, and then or like hypothermia says can't gain go again, but if it already has it, right? So it's stuff like that.
Right.
So I love to see that they're like learning how to like write their cards better.
Yes. More
Yeah,
clear, more legible. Yeah, totally.
yeah. So Jacob,
I mean,
Buzzsaw Trap. What do you think?
so this card's really cool. I think it's really obviously this trap in specific is designed for aggro matchups. It shuts down things like Salt the Wound or Lava Burst or um, God, it shuts down CMH turns a little bit. Like it's a very relevant card. The reason I actually picked it though is it's a backdoor way to talk about Riptide. Riptide, I was very excited for when we heard there was going to be another hero with a lower health total, because that just means they're going to have a really great ability. And we were all kind of like sitting as like, oh, I hope this ability is good enough. I hope this ability is good enough. He's been printed now, and his ability is good enough.
His
People
ability
people
seems insane to me.
as we and you both know, as long term Reinhardt players, people fucking hate Reckless Swing.
Oh
They
man,
hate it with a
It's
passion.
my favorite way to win, just because of like the
Now
look on the opponent's face and the hope slowly leaving their eyes.
now imagine every single trap card you play is doing damage. Every time.
Well,
It's
no,
not
it
just
Yeah,
the trap effect has to trigger.
oh, so it has to line up with whatever you're
but that's still pretty good. So
right.
okay,
Like if
so
you're
just
building, yeah,
I'm gonna read Riptide because Jacob doesn't know what it does. I'm just kidding. I love you, Jacob. Whenever you play a card from hand, you may put a card from hand face down into arsenal. I think that's a very sneakily powerful part of the
so
ability
good,
too. Yeah.
such a good
So
ability,
whenever you play a
crazy
card
good
from
ability.
hand, you may put a card from your hand face down into your arsenal. Whenever a trap you control triggers, deal 1 damage to the attacking hero.
So you're going to get a lot of value off your traps. So basically, all of the Riptide trap cards block for 4. In essence, 4 value. They're going to block for the 3, but then you're going to get that extra value off the damage. And that's not counting the old traps, which also have conditionals, but I think they're going to be harder to hit because they can be stopped. That's actually a point of interaction is if you play one of the older traps that have payable conditions. If you pay those conditions, you won't be taking the 1 damage from Riptide.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think it's great. I think all of the traps that are printed kind of work. The way that this set is printed is it looks like they're giving the classes that are kind of hunter specific, which is all of the ones in this set. We have ninja, assassin, and ranger. All of these heroes feel like they're supposed to be built to attack certain metas or attack certain heroes, and they're getting very card specific in this set and giving you the exact tools you need as a deck builder to attack whatever meta you see is prevalent. Whether that's aggro and throwing in these anti-aggro cards, or fatigue and throwing these anti-fatigue cards. Um, I think it's really interesting, and that's kind of the design space of the whole set. Is the three classes that are supposed to hunt a meta, and then giving them more cards to do so.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like that.
Hunt
One
or
thing.
range? What do you think
What was
about?
that?
No, I don't know. Because hunter, ranger. Anyway, that was a bad joke. Archer, what do you think? Archer, what do you think about Buzzsaw Trap? And make it snappy, kid, because we're running long
Yeah,
on
I'll
time.
just talk my brief thoughts about Riptide.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think Riptide is really strong. I think the trap +1 value is like secondary, and I think that pseudo reload is
Mhm.
like the build around for his hero.
Mhm.
One thing I'll say is that I tried to build Riptide deck last night. There are too many fucking Ranger cards.
There's a lot.
There's a lot of arrows, and with Riptide and his bow, which I actually think is like really good for what Riptide is like trying to do, it makes the aim counter arrows like really good all of a sudden. And yeah, I'm excited for other people to figure it out because I'm not smart.
I feel like my initial reaction to Riptide is that it's going to be like you're not trying to like turtle with your defense reactions. You're just it's like a tempo deck, right? Like you come in with like you load up your arsenal, you play like a drill shot or like some super good disruptive arrow. They block, they come in with an attack, you play a trap, and then you do it all again, right? Like it just seems like I don't know. I'm excited to see where it goes. I wish I owned any Ranger cards, but I luckily I have a lot of friends, so yeah. No, I'm excited. I'm excited for Riptide, and I just as the last note about this Buzzsaw Trap. So Buzzsaw Trap, Spike Trap, and the other one is Collapsing Trap. They're all three very powerful. I'll let you go. Maybe I'll like put them on the screen and post or something. I'll let you guys go read them. They're all very powerful. They're all legendary, so it's kind of like one like cycle of cards. So
They're all blue block 3. They're all blue
yeah,
block 3.
yeah,
They're all above rate without the trap effect.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
All right, what's
Okay, so
next?
next is Crow's Nest. Tell us about
Yeah.
Crow's
So
Nest, Archer.
I just want to talk about this because this is like I think it's a common, it's a Azalea specialization. But I think first of all, like the quivers are just like free value that you get to include. The only cost is 1 out of 80 cards in your total deck. They don't have any cost when you actually present your deck because it's an extra inventory, or it's an extra equipment slot. Um, Crow's Nest's really good because Crow's Nest finally made the link between Azalea and the aim counters. She gets to still play Death Dealer. She gets to maybe adjust her pitch ratio a little bit to lean more blues, so she can fit in this effect a little easier because she was a little more yellow skewed prior. I think this fits pretty nicely into Azalea decks. Gives her access to those really strong aim counter arrows. And I just think it's just a strict upgrade for Azalea, and it's exactly what that hero needs.
Yep. I agree. I mean, I don't have too much to add. I don't play Ranger too much. I will say the one thing that's great about this is everyone has been talking about how Ranger kind of needs this upgrade, and they did quite literally need just an upgrade, just an all across the board upgrade. That wasn't too much, but was enough. And
Yeah,
I think Quiver giving them an entire new onboard space, which is of course takes up the card in their list, like you were saying, but doesn't take up a card in their physical deck. So just more onboard effects creates a new design space that gives Ranger a lot of legs. And so I'm just excited to see how the quivers are used, and which ones we get in the future. But yeah, Crow's Nest is cool.
Yeah, I think this is the best quiver too. It's only Azalea, which is
Yeah.
like a caveat, but I think it's the most easily played. It's good.
I was telling somebody.
My next one
I was telling
is
somebody. Oh,
uh,
sorry. Go ahead.
go
Never mind.
ahead.
Doesn't matter. It was just an anecdote about.
What
Sorry.
are the other power
I
quickies?
No, I was telling somebody about how like in our Discord, they're like, oh, why is this crappy quiver a majestic? I was like, oh, it's probably to balance limited, and then they printed a token quiver. But I guess there's not. Is there any like? Oh yeah, there's still like encounter cards in this deck, or in this
Yeah,
in this
there's
in
in the
this.
side. There's tons. Yeah.
So I was just like talking out of my ass. It's like I mean I was wrong. I thought it was to balance limited, but here we are getting a token quiver for Azalea. So cool. So what's the next card here? We got Van Brace of Determination. Tell us about Van Brace of Determination, Jacob.
Yeah, so this just continues my talk on legendary generics, and how they need to be good in this game, but not too good. And I think that this card like encapsulates that entirely. It's good. It's a good card. I think no, see that's everyone's reaction. Everyone's like, this isn't good. This has a lot of play. I think um mainly the reason that it aggravates me that people make that face is everyone has bitched about Old Him and Crown of Seeds and how fucking annoying that combo and that line of play is. And then literally they print a card that's literally like
Yeah,
anti seeds. This is your anti seeds. It's not as good, but it's saying, hey, you can kind of prevent this if you need to push an on hit. And everyone goes, oh, this card's okay. It's like, okay, well, that's what everyone said about Crown of Seeds. So it's just this design space where the and it kind of shows us what LSS thinks of each equipment slot. That's what I like is that we all kind
yeah,
of knew that the arms equipment spot is supposed to be a power buff for attacks. Generally, that's what it facilitates.
Oh, and it kind of
Um,
is.
yeah, and it kind of is, but it's not overpowered, right?
yeah,
Like if this was printed and it just said attack reaction, pay one, your attack gets +1, and you could use that over and over the whole game. That's a broken piece of equipment, and I think that this beautifully balances that and allows that not to be the case. But the really interesting part of this equipment is the second line of text, which is when this defends, you may pay a resource. If you do, it gains +1 in Blade Break. I just like to see this on a piece of equipment because I hope to see it again. Um, this is really cool for equipment busting shenanigans. There's a
I
lot of that kind of popping up slowly but surely. Even back to the things of like T-Bone and just giving us a way to play around, giving us interactivity with something like T-Bone,
Mm.
giving us that level of interactivity with -1 counters on our equipment, things like that. That's really interesting to me. Do I think this card's great? No, I actually don't think that this card will see a ton of play, which is sad because it's a legendary and it's basically eating up a legendary in our spot. But the reason I want to talk about this card is because it's opening up design space that I'm looking forward to seeing them explore, and I am also hyped to have this example kind of what AC is a legendary piece of equipment for each slot. And I think they realized Tunic is really strong, and they didn't want to make another like de facto you run this card
yeah,
most matchups.
And
and
Providence is
It's
really good too.
also I think that like I, I think this card is like sure it's like in this current meta as we know it, this card's not great, but like I think going forward it has a lot of potential because like think about like Crown of Seeds and when they reprint Prism, I mean I assume she's going to have spectral shields, right?
yeah.
Or like gosh I don't know, or maybe you go over the top of a sand cover or something in Dromai, or maybe some of the Ward 1 cards become really relevant. I think that in the future this will have a lot of use cases, and I wouldn't be surprised if it started to see a lot of play because it blocks for one. It's a good way to use extra resources. Like there's not a lot of good arm slots out there, right? So um
Yeah. I
yeah,
The
think
only
that's
thing
for
that
a reason as well. I think the arm slot being like power related for a lot of the classes, like we haven't seen a legendary generic or like a really strong generic option for that because like it's hard to design
yeah,
that so it's too pushed, right? Like Goliath Gauntlet is already like pretty good.
yeah.
And so like you can't have it be stronger than that and be generic. It's so I like the cards design. It is just a little.
It's a little underwhelming, but that's perfect because if it was too much, everyone would be complaining within a month.
Yeah.
And I think they're just cognizant of that. It just shows that they're really being judicious about how they're approaching their design going forward. I
Maybe
like
it's like Silver Palms. It'll be really good in UPF or something.
UPF.
Uh,
All right, what do we got next?
Concealed Blade. This is on Archer's list. Archer,
Yeah.
tell us what you think about Concealed Blade.
So Concealed Blade is a zero cost blue, an assassin ninja attack reaction, blocks 3. So like off the bat, pretty good. It's a you get +1 on target assassin or ninja. So that's like already the same rate as like lunging press, but it's above rate because it blocks 3. And then and when this hits, equip a dagger from your inventory. So I don't know if this card is good, but it does introduce this really interesting like rules question for like on Faber, you can't equip more than 2, you can't have more than 2 Kodachis in your list. So like going forward, can you have like 3 Zephyr Needles in your sideboard?
Oh,
I
more of the
don't
same
good
weapon.
question.
yeah,
that's
and
a good question.
I don't understand, like there's a lot of questions this card brings up. And I don't know if it's good. I think it's really interesting. Um and it plays with those cards, the Flick Knives, the legendary that lets you deal damage for a previous dagger attack, but then it destroys that dagger. So then you have an empty slot, and I'm assuming you can't equip a dagger if you don't have an empty arm
Yeah,
spot.
yeah, they've already clarified that
Oh,
rule.
they have. Cool. So it's a really interesting card. I don't know if it's good, but it's cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. I think
I'm with
that's a
you on
great
that
way
one.
to describe it. I don't think it's good. I think again, it's another card we're bringing up because it brings up great design space. We've already seen another card that interacts with the inventory, and that's Taylor, which is not a
Yeah.
competitive card, but that's the other card that kind of printed this idea. And they told us when it came out that they would be exploring that design space. And again, they're just dipping their toes in. This card is not as significant as what it's hinting at in the future for the game, I think.
I think it lets Katsu play Zephyr Needle, like one Kadashi, one Zephyr Needle, and then not worry if it
Going.
breaks because you can just like get another
Ooh,
one.
that's kind of
That's
cool.
slick. I like
Um,
that idea.
yeah, and Zephyr Needle's really good
Yeah.
if they don't have a defense reaction, right? I think that's like the thing that breaks it usually.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's just a really interesting card. I want someone else to figure it out because I'm not gonna play that deck until someone
Yeah.
else tunes it.
Wait,
That's a lot.
look at this spike over here. Just like I'm not gonna play it until it's
I'm just not a
competitive.
good deck.
So it's got to be
Yeah.
good first, you know.
Yeah,
Someone
you know,
else gotta
you're a
figure
good
it out.
enough pilot that I think you can
Yeah, I don't-
afford
I
to not build decks.
don't-
No, I think I'm in the same boat. I love that card. Like I love the flavor. I love the idea of just like flinging. Like I think of like Naruto or something, right? Or he's got his like or like every character in that show has their little kunai knives that are just
Yep.
getting thrown all over the place. And that's like it's just neat. I don't know if it'll be good, but it's neat.
Yeah, that's exactly why I wanted to talk about it. Is it's like a design space that hasn't been explored. It also just immediately brought up like questions for me. And I'm glad they're already answering. I'm gonna love it when the release notes get
Yeah, there's
finally
gonna be a
published.
lot. There's gonna be
Yeah,
a lot with this.
there's a
It's
lot
gonna
of
be
weird
cool.
interactions in this set.
The naming clarifications, all of that. It's gonna be really
Yeah.
interesting.
I think that if they like it's kind of weird to say this, but I think if they get the under the hood rules correct on all these things and make them clear, I think they're going to be really really fun. If not, they're going to be really annoying.
True.
Okay, anything else on Concealed Blade before we go to the fifth and final of Jacob's?
Cool.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, so
So-
Jacob, Mom, I want to get a CNC.
Yeah, we have CNC at home. All right.
Well, what is
When
what is CNC at home, Jacob?
CNC at home is Wreak Havoc. And not just Wreak Havoc. I mean, we can
There's
read
a
Wreak
ton
Havoc.
of them.
There's a ton of them. That's what I want to talk about. So I'll start with Wreak
Yeah, you
Havoc.
kind of cheated on this fifth card slot. There's like 6 cards in here.
Yeah, right. So it's defense reactions can't be played to Wreak Havoc's Chain Link. That sounds familiar. We've seen that before somewhere. And
Yeah.
then it says when this hits a hero, you may turn a card in their arsenal face up, then destroy a defense reaction in their
Yeah.
arsenal.
And what rarity is this card?
It is a rare.
Yeah, it's a rare.
I love that. I love that.
So really what I want to talk about is the fact that CNC's price is a problem for this game and the growth of it. It absolutely
Yeah.
is. As a player who still doesn't have their third, um, and like I plan on buying my third. It's like $100, man, for a single piece of
Yeah,
cardboard.
it's kind of
That's
crazy.
good, but it's not great. Every list I've made, I just put two CNCs because that's what I have, and usually it's enough. Usually it's enough. In some matchups, I want another popper. That's a bummer, but I think it's too much. It's not as powerful as we've all decided it is, as the market has decided it is. And LSS is finally doing something practical about this problem. Very practical. We are getting 8 replacements for CNC in this set. We are getting, I'm just going to name them off. I'm not going to read them all. We're getting Humble, Wreak Havoc, um, Cut Down to Size, Destructive Deliberation, Amnesia, and there was another one I'm missing. That's like 6 cards.
Down and Dirty, is that one that you're
Down
considering?
and Dirty. Yep, Down and Dirty. And these are all different 2 for 6s. Some block for 3, some block for 2. They all have very relevant on hits.
I do actually want to
And
read Down and Dirty because I think that's
mm,
I think that's
the most
the other really good one. It is a majestic. I think it's the only majestic of all the cards you just named. But it
Amnesia's
says
also
it's just the 2 for 6 and it blocks for 2, but it says while Down and Dirty is in your arsenal, you may defend with it, which I
yeah.
think is huge.
That
Love it.
one has the most utility. That will be seen in most decks. A lot of the other ones are kind of more specific. Again, matchup specific, which I think is important to replacing CNC is giving us tools that attack certain decks.
Yeah.
But I think Wreak Havoc is great because it is bar none a decent replacement for
Yeah.
CNC for new
Yep.
players. If you
yeah,
have this card, you're not destroying their arsenal, but you're getting information. And that is super valuable for what card you
Yeah.
arsenal or how the rest of your turn goes
100%.
or whatever else you're trying to decide. That bit of information, I think, will go a long way in replacing that. And then the other one I think is really important is Amnesia.
It's cool.
Um,
Oh yeah. That one's good.
Amnesia's cool. It's close to a race face, which didn't do what they thought it was going to do and give us a really good CNC replacement. I think LSS really thought that was going to be that. Amnesia does that better because it blocks for 3.
Mhm.
One of the best parts about CNC is that at the end of the day, you can block with it for 3 when
Yeah.
it's not relevant.
And
Um,
Amnesia, just for reference, says when this hits a hero, cards and tokens they own lose and can't gain names until the start of your next turn.
Yeah.
right.
I'm gonna have to wait till the release notes to figure out how this one
Y-
works.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
kind of funny.
there's a lot of interactions that aren't quite clear, but this just based on the text is now and how we understand it, we know this destroys Katsu. We know this destroys most of the ninjas if you let this hit, right?
I
Like
think it turns
it's
off
gonna
crush
shut down.
effects too, right? Like it because don't all
No, they
the
confirmed on
No,
Twitter.
if a card names
okay.
itself, if a
Oh, okay,
card
okay,
names
okay.
itself, it could just be replaced with the word this. If this
Oh,
hit.
sure, sure.
Yeah. So it's only valuable into some decks, but they've classed it a majestic and it blocks for 3. And I think that's the main point I want to talk about is it's a 2 for 6 with a relevant on hit, blocks for 3.
Love it.
So yeah, let's see. Let's hope this affects the market and let's hope it affects the game in the way that they want it
Yeah,
Let's get you your third CNC.
yeah.
Well, not
to.
half, right?
I think
Yeah,
Maybe
no,
Amnesia's better.
I'm hyped. Yeah,
And
totally.
I like that like they haven't directly replaced CNC. It's still very powerful and you still want to play it in a lot of decks, but like I think it's like you said, Jacob. I think that's how they're approaching that problem, right? They're not reprinting it, but they're just printing kind of like side grades and things that you can
Oh,
do, and you can make a meta call, and it might be better than CNC in some cases, right? So,
I mean,
uh,
cut down to size is a great example
yeah,
too. The on hit on that is when this hits a hero, if they have 4 more cards in their hand, they
yep,
discard. So
yep,
that's saying, hey, I'm getting at least a card. Like you're either
yeah,
going to block or I'm just going to rip a card from hand. So
Makes it scary to no block against Uzuri.
yeah.
oh
Oh
yeah.
God, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, so that was all the 2 for 6 CNCs at home. Last card of the show. Archer's
So
bringing us into number 5. We got premeditate. What does premeditate do, Archer?
Premeditate is a zero cost red action generic. So we're ending with another generic as well. The It's Plunder Run, but not. And that's why
It's
it's cool.
Plunder Run at home. It's Plunder Run at home.
Plunder
But
Run at
it's a
home.
better it's better designed Plunder Run for
It
sure.
is.
It still might be a problem because I didn't mention this when we talked about Riptide, but I think Riptide can utilize Ponder tokens really, really powerfully. But the next time an attack action card hits a hero this turn, create a Ponder token, which is like a pseudo draw, happens after the end step or like in the middle of the end step, something like that. The next attack action card you play from Arsenal this turn getting +3. So this card doesn't have to be Arsenal like Plunder Run did, but the attack has to. So immediately comes to mind is Rangers are going to love this card, right? All their attacks are coming from Arsenal. The assassins who get to play the codexes, they let you just throw a card in Arsenal and then immediately get that bonus from it. Other decks that can like set this up like with a card in Arsenal and then draw into it, like it's this is a cool card. Its Plunderon was a powerful effect. It was too powerful for the way the game was going. But it still was a way that decks would encourage blocks. And I think this does a similar thing. The Ponder token is like a pseudo card draw.
Yeah.
Because like
I mean,
sometimes that card could be bad.
I
And you
mean,
can't use it.
I like this because it's a majestic, and so there's not. It's just red, all right.
Just
And so
red.
it's nice that you can't just play 9 of them, right? I like it that it's the next time an attack action you play from Arsenal, right? So Plunder Run was if you play it from Arsenal, it gets +3, and I think that's a really smart shift because you can't just sit on this in Arsenal, which I love, right? Although it's still very good in Ranger because you can just reload your Arsenal, right?
Yep.
Next time, and then yeah, it has the same like on hit effect, but it's not just like insane in aggro where you can just play Plunder Run and then at some point you're gonna hit, so you're just gonna draw another card, right?
Extend your turn.
Yeah, so I think this is a really good like if this was Hearthstone and they were gonna nerf Plunder Run, I think this would be a really good like nerf to Plunder Run. But this isn't Hearthstone, so they had to do a reprint and a new set.
I think it's cool because like we've all noted, it fixes Plunder Run's aggro side and its condition by making the conditional the next attack played from Arsenal getting +3. It's easier to play around, so you can play it when you draw it, things like that. But it's cool because it gives aggro another relevant on hit. It just
Mhm.
gives aggro decks another relevant on hit, and not even like if you're playing a deck that has go tall and you're the type of deck that's doing 3 card hands pretty consistently, this card's also great there. You've Arsenal a card last turn, sitting in Arsenal. You play this from hand. You pitch to play the big attack. It gets +3, so it's
Yeah.
probably in the range of 7 to 9, and you're going to get an Arsenal back if it hits. So this card has a lot of utility for a lot of decks, and it doesn't feel overpowered immediately.
Yes.
I think
Yes.
I think Ponder does a great job at that. A great example is I had a game today. Someone was testing this card, and they played 2 of them to get the +6 benefit, most likely because they were on Azalea.
Oh,
And then it was really goofy because then they drew 2
yeah.
cards, and it creates a really awkward interaction,
Yeah.
but they wanted
Ponder
that
doesn't do any good.
+6. Yeah.
I guess it gives
So,
you choice, but that's it.
but double Plunder Run was insane. And you
Yeah.
see what I'm saying? Like, that's the difference. Like, a double
Yeah.
Plunder Run turn is obnoxious. Double Premeditate turn is like, oh, you kind of screwed yourself out of value here.
I think that this card is like I know we're talking about how it's just like not as powerful as Plunder Run, but I still think it's very good.
It's
And
it's very good.
it doesn't just go into every aggro deck. Like there's some considerations to be made, but like I think it's solid, and I think that it will see a lot of play. So yeah, I'm glad
It
this
is
made one of your guys' lists.
it is like the pinnacle of what this game needs in way of side grades.
Totally.
It's not a strict upgrade, not a strict upgrade at all. But to the decks that need it as an upgrade, it's relevant. It's
Yeah.
relevant for sure. This is a
Yeah.
great Briar card again.
Right.
Not that she
Did you
needed
say
any.
a
It's
Briar?
almost like
Yeah,
generic
Briar.
non-attacks that cost
okay.
0 are really good in
Yeah.
Briar.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
I thought you said this is a great Rhinar card, and I was like, I don't know about that.
I mean,
Although
again,
Rhinar does like to play stuff.
be.
It could be. Yeah.
Yeah,
He likes
could
card
be.
advantage. He likes playing stuff from Arsenal. I don't know.
This is not a good Rhinar card.
No, yeah. Just disclaimer, we're better than that. But yeah, so that's the list. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah.
So yeah, like we're close to an hour, so we should wrap it up. But I really loved having you guys both on, and Archer, I hope that we can, I know you're in your almost your last quarter of school, so who knows how much we'll even see or hear from you. But I would love to have you on the cast more, and I'm sure that everybody else would too. We need some prettier people on the cast, obviously. So So yeah, Jacob, as always, you're the best. You know this.
Thanks. Yeah, no,
So
it's
yeah,
fun. This is fun.
where any closing thoughts in these last couple of minutes?
The set looks really, really cool. I'm really excited to dive into limited with the set. We talked this weekend, and we want to like kind of focus towards limited a little bit more. And this set, after it got spoiled, like I'm really excited to see
Yeah.
how it plays out and what the balance is between the classes. I'm really, really excited for limited.
Me too.
And yeah, there's some dope cards in the set, and Fab's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm super excited for limit. I really want to come back to this list in like a month and a half.
Oh
and
yeah,
the
do a
three of
little
us sit
do a
down
little top five
and
retrospective.
just see where we're at and see how everything kind of shook out. And
Yeah, how about after like Pro Tour Baltimore? We like check in after the next major event
see
following.
what lists we're looking at. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Let's plan on. We'll see.
Have we missed any like big like I'm just looking at this list. Have we missed any like big legendaries or majestics or something? Because we're missing one like generic like majestic or higher, I think.
So I'll be honest, all the assassin
maybe
cards
not.
are kind of meh to me.
Yeah, we skipped over a lot of it. Like we didn't talk about any assassin anything.
Yeah, someone else can figure it out.
I think that's the thing is like Azuri is such a weird like hero ability that like it's like reading Spellbound Creepers. It's just like I'm just gonna let somebody tell me what it does.
There's a bunch of ninja cards that I didn't want to just have a bunch of ninja cards on the list, but there's like the one with the head jab combo card that the opponent has to 0 for 3 and the opponent has to discard a card if it hits. If head job was the last card played, that's like a great limited card, and then also maybe is a good constructed card. A lot of cool ninja cards on here. I just love the way they're doing ninja design space.
Yeah, that's the first place I want to go. I want to try out Katsu in this new set. Like he's got so many cool new tools.
There's yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of ranger cards that are really cool. We didn't talk about all the quivers. They're like interesting design space. There's some cool arrows. I think we hit a good amount of like interesting and things we think are going to be good, because I didn't just put things that were going to be good. Like I
didn't pick things based off good. I picked things off conversation.
We didn't talk about codexes at all.
Nope.
Yeah, all the codexes are good.
Yeah, there's so many. There's a lot of good cards in this set. I think Ranger's gonna be really good.
All right, I gotta get out of here, guys. But
I gotta get out of here too.
To reconvene after Pro Tour and then kind of just revisit this conversation with the same list.
Yeah, and to everybody at home, we'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining us.
You guys are all awesome, and have a good one.
Ciao.
Ciao. Just a fancy Italian boy. Ciao.